Okay, we are now in chapter 5 in the book of James. This is the last chapter of the book of James. So I plan to finish this last chapter in 2 sessions, this week and next week, the Lord willing. We must apply what we learn, right? We can plan all we want, but must be God's will, all right? Amen. So, let's remind ourselves quickly of the chart, the outline. So we are in chapter 5, which will talk about waiting faith or faith rewarded. And the focus is on perseverance. Perseverance or patience in suffering. Okay, this is what we're going to look at. So reading from chapter 5, verse 1 to 3. Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted, and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosions will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. So we can see here, James begins a new session of this letter here, which he harshly condemns you rich people. Now, you see, most commentators agree that the wealthy landowners James is talking to now, they are non-Christians, non-believers. So you see, in chapter 4, he was talking to those who are Christians who follow the worldly path, the ways of the world, and he gave them a chance to repent and humble themselves, and receive the grace of God. But you see, in this session, he offers none of that. He simply condemns this rich oppressor with the voice of the Old Testament prophet, predicting their doom, okay? So the misery, okay, that's coming on you. So these wealthy people were unbelievers, okay, who used their wealth to harm others. But more importantly also, it's also including those who did not use their wealth to help others. He's hitting at those who harm others with their wealth. He also hitting at those who did not help others when they can. This is referring to the last session we had, James chapter 4, verse 17. Remember, if you know the good that you should do and you don't do it, it's a sin, right? So he's also hitting at them. So specifically, James is saying that they use their wealth to oppress the poor, and James is warning them, okay? He begins with, James' point here is not to condemn all wealthy people or he's condemning wealth. See, James is targeting a particular group of people. These are the rich people who have allowed their wealth to control them and warp their minds, okay? The most tempting failure for these people is to trust in their material riches rather than God. That's why in Matthew 19:23, which I will read afterwards, also say that, okay? So given the brevity of life itself, or the unpredictable nature of life, which we read in James chapter 4, verse 13 to 14, their wealth and the things they purchase with it are easily gone, like a mist, it just disappeared. It cannot last, okay? So James' attention here is on the day of God's judgment, right? In words say that here, okay, against those wealthy oppressors. Their misuse of their gold and silver will testify against them, according to this symbolic description of corrosion. They say, this will, the corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. Okay. So this is indeed a harsh and cutting pronouncement. Okay. And James offered no grace from God for these unrepentant unbelievers. They are guilty of, they will be condemned for their greed and selfishness. They are guilty of laying up earthly treasures for themselves in the last days instead of spending it to help those in need. So James also echoes Jesus' own teaching in Matthew 6:19-21. It says here, right? Matthew 6:19-21 to 21. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So same kind of wordings that Jesus used, and James is repeating here. Let's go on to verse 4. Look, the wages you fail to pay the workers who mow your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who was not opposing you. Here, James is charging this abusive rich man not just with neglect and selfishness, but with what? Outright fraud. These wealthy businessmen, they cheated their own employees out of their wages that these employees earn while working in the field. Okay. See, in the Old Testament law, employers were commanded to pay their laborers at the end of the workday because the workers needed the money and they might cry out to the Lord if cheated by the employer. Right? You can read this in Deuteronomy 24, verse 15. So James describes the unpaid money itself crying out against the oppressive landowners, along with the voices of the worker. So, see, it says that the money that is being cheated, they will cry out to the Lord, right? So here in verse 5, we can see that he uses sharp, cutting imagery to drive home the reality of coming judgment. In a time of great need, these wealthy people had lived out their lives of luxury and self-indulgence. Okay, they used their wealth to provide for themselves the easiest, the softest lives possible. They were really living in comfort, enjoying life, eating good food, and really comfortable life. Okay. So in doing so, they had fattened themselves, it says here. They had fattened themselves or their hearts for the day of the slaughter, right? And they had done this while not only ignoring the plight of the others, but while abusing them in order to become even richer, okay, in verse 4. So most of James' first century readers they know what it means to see fattened animals over time in order to be slaughtered and for food and for sacrifice. So these wealthy unbelievers have fattened themselves, okay, with luxury. They just gorge themselves with food, enjoy good food, and just in time to be what? Symbolically slaughtered in judgment. they will also be slaughtered, but in the judgment time. Okay, seem pleasant at the time. All right, they were really enjoying it, but it was just setting them up for a more dramatic fall later on. Okay, so here James is actually not condemning the wealth or all the rich people. Rather, he is actually criticizing the sinful temptations that come with wealth, which is what? Selfishness and greed. And that is their problem here. Okay. And then in verse 6, James gave them a final charge against these wealthy people. Okay. And he has charged them with murder, right? You have condemned and murdered the innocent one, he says. Not only were they guilty of hoarding wealth, while others suffer in poverty, of cheating their workers out of earned wages, and of living in self-indulgent luxury, they had literally caused an innocent or righteous man to die. Okay? Wealthy landowners had great powers in the court system during that time. And unfortunately, then as of now also, court system can be rigged, right? Which is very real to us in Malaysia at this time. Okay, the wealthy can drag poor people into courts on charges legitimate or not, okay? And with the little resources to defend themselves, the poor people, in a corrupt system, the poor are mostly helpless against such charges. So in James' era, in particular, a poor man who was sued would usually lose what little they have left. Okay, so as a result, they may have been unjustly executed or simply left to die of salvation. And that's the kind of situation the poor people are facing because of the acts of the rich people. So just a quick summary of this. What are the specific criticism James levels against these rich people? Number one, hoarding wealth. Okay, see, the Bible does not discourage savings or even investing in business, whatever, but it does condemn hoarding. That means you keep building up, and keep it all to yourself. Okay. Number two is acquiring wealth by wrong means. For example, they were withholding the pay, they were dishonest, they were insensitive to the people's needs. Okay. Number three, they were living luxuriously, all right? Self-indulgence, just enjoying their worldly ways. Okay. And number four, they condemned and murdered the innocent people. They stepped on people on their way up the ladder of riches. Okay. So that's the first 6 words, right? And James direct attention to them. Okay. So we go on to verse 7 and 8. Okay. It says here, be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. So you notice here, the second part here of verse 7, he's addressing them as what? Brothers and sisters. Very different from verse 1, right? Where he said, you rich people. That's why commentators say that the first part is addressing to non-Christian. But from verse 7 onwards, he's talking to the Christian, right? The brothers and sisters in Christ, right? He's directing now to Christians after having expressed his feelings against the non-Christian, the unbelievers on the things that they have done. Okay. So actually, from verse 7 to the end of the chapter, verse 20, there are 7 exhortations given by James, right? So tonight we may cover maybe 3 or 4 of them, okay? So because we are going to stop at verse 12, right? So the first exhortation given here is wait patiently. Wait patiently. Verse 7 to 8, okay? And this is a very important word to look at, patient. Okay. So let's try to understand a little bit what is patience. Okay. The word James uses for patient is macrotumia, right? Which made up of 2 words. Macros, which means long, and tumis, which means temper. So you add them together, it becomes a long-tempered, but it's usually translated as long-suffering. Okay, so patient is long-suffering. In the expository dictionary of Old and New Testament words, macrotuma describes a quality of self-restraint in the face of provocation, which does not hastily retaliate or punish. So it tells about what self-control, right? Even when you are provoked, can you do not easily or quickly try to react or retaliate. Okay, and that is patient. Be able to exercise self-control. It is opposite of anger. I know anger. We talked about it before. With a very quick expression of for bad temper or whatever. Okay, and it's associated with mercy. So patient people are usually more merciful, right? And patience is also a virtue, right? So one of the reasons that patience is a virtue is that it involves going through suffering at times without getting angry or upset. All right. Some people, when or I should say, the impatient people usually get upset very easily, isn't it? Remember the times that you're impatient, you get angry very easily, you get upset, right? But patient, the patient man is able to control, exercise self discipline. Okay, and it involves trusting God that things will happen not in your time, but in His. Amen. So you got to trust God, right? So this part of this definition is where James is focusing on, right? Patience through suffering, patience expressed in a time of difficulty, right? So this is where he's focusing on. But in the context of patience, patience is a virtue that all Christians must possess. True enough. Okay. See, we must bear this patience. This is a fruit of the Spirit. True enough. Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. Say, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. Okay, under the ESV version. So, as Christians, we must bear the fruit of the Spirit, and patience is one of them. And patience should identify us as belonging to Christ because it is part of the fruit of the Spirit. Okay, and patience is also a discipline. Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. It says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Okay? So you say, clothe yourself. That means what? Put on patience. So you must make an effort to put on something. You put on your clothes, you have to make an effort to put on your clothes, right? So you have to put on patience. You have to display the virtue of patience. And this is our testimony as a Christian, right? See, as a Christian, as I mentioned before, that people look at us more with more scrutiny, right? They say you are Christian, they expect us to behave in certain way. And when they see us not showing the virtue of patience, then they will be wondering what kind of Christians is this, right? So I think we need to do a reality check, right? Okay, reality check. Ask ourselves: do we possess the virtue of patience? Uh, you would like to answer? Anyone want to answer? So, question is, do our the question is actually asking ourselves: am I a patient person? All right. Do I have this virtue of patience in me? I'm a Christian. Okay. Maybe before I don't have. Now that I'm a Christian, do we have this virtue of patience? Anyone want to say something here? Or time of confession?
I think it depends, right? Sometimes we are patient when it comes to food for some, but we may be impatient when it comes to traffic, for example. So I guess some people may not be aware of where they are not patient in, and they think they're very patient.
Yeah.
Because in
Yes.
other things, they are very patient.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's a good point there. So you are saying that patience is circumstantial, is it?
I think people are not aware of what triggers impatience sometimes. I
Yeah.
know I'm patient in some things, and I also know I'm very impatient in others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Like in the area of patience or impatience, sometimes I'm patient with certain people, but not patient with my own wife in the same area.
Oh. Can we all
so
now just
I have higher expectations of her.
okay? Let's pause for a while and pray for Pastor Lim. Okay. Okay. Anyone else want to express something? Your own experience or what you think? What's the importance? Why is patience so important to a Christian?
Brother Peter, there's a question from Uncle Cham. Is it too bad? Is it bad to be too patient?
Too patient. Is it bad? Is it? Is it bad to be too patient? Can we be too patient, overly patient? Is it what you are saying, Brother Chiang? I think that is quite a good question. Huh? That means, are you saying that if you become too patient or over patient person, people take advantage of us? Is it? Are you asking that way? That question.
Yeah, could be one. And maybe, you don't get things done, maybe.
Sorry, what's the last word?
Maybe it's kind of, you don't get the things done, you patiently wait for it, or sometimes people tend to be a bit impatient and get things done faster. You see what I mean?
Yes, I see your point there, but I'm not sure whether that is being overly patient. I think maybe you are thinking of patience being too passive, right? That you don't take the extra push to get things done. Are you saying that?
Yeah, it could be it.
Sorry, I'm putting words in your mouth.
What I see is that sometimes the impatient people can push through faster. Whether it's a good way or not a nice way, but to get things done.
Okay, I think I know where you're coming from, but anyone want to comment on that?
I think one of the dangers of patience, I think, could be Terence who mentioned, is we can become complacent, right? But patience does not necessarily mean that we are inactive, yeah. It must not, in a sense that I feel that patience means controlling your emotions, of strength of retaliation, but doesn't stop us from taking action in an appropriate way. I feel that these are the difference. Just being patient doesn't mean that we don't do anything about the situation. We take positive, proactive measures to resolve whatever issue that is, right? We don't sit back. We are not, what to call this, we don't let people walk all over us. Yeah? But it means that we do not let our emotions control us, of anger, of frustration, to the point whereby we want to hit out at the other person in an ungodly manner. So that I see this difference. Yeah, there's still action, but there's no retaliation.
If I can add, I think Eli with his children, I don't think Eli was patient. I think Eli was indulgent and passive and fearful, maybe. I think that's Eli. I think patient is like David. He was very trusting in the Lord against Saul. Provocation and persecution, but he still remained patient. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, yes. I think we may have diverted to another area, but can we just go back to the definition of patience? Okay, we can refer to this one. Okay, it said it involves going through suffering at times without getting angry or upset. Right. So Brother Shem has gone to the other side of the describing the passiveness of patience. So that means it may not be able to get things done through that, overly passive about it. But here is facing issues and how we control. We have self-control to handle things that we are facing, right? And basically, it's also trusting God that for things that will happen in His time, not our own time. Okay, so if you stick back to this, I think we will go along this line. Okay, so I think the question here I want us to think about is truly ask yourself: do I consider myself as a patient person, regardless of the situation? Like Brother Terence said, it could be waiting for food or even starting the computer. Extra few seconds, you get impatient already. But when we face actual situation, where how do people see us? Do they see the virtue of patience in you as a Christian? I think that's very important. To check ourselves. Okay, so I think for me, I have to admit I'm not that patient. I get very impatient, especially in my work when I want to get things done, and it's not done. And I have to talk to the person a few times. What happened? And sometimes I lose my patience. I think that's what Brother Cham is saying. But in all honesty, that is not good. I have to still control myself and exercise and exhibit patience and talk to the people nicely but firmly. All right. Okay. So ask yourself, all right. Some people, some Christians have really a big problem with being impatient, and in their impatience they get angry, they throw tempers, and that's not right. Okay, so if you are like that, I think you need to ask the Lord to work on you. Okay, allow yourself to be open to the working of the Holy Spirit and develop the fruit of the Spirit of patience. Okay, so next word want to look at is the Lord's coming. Okay, so you see in the passage before, up to verse 6, verse 1 will say, James was condemning the rich unbelievers who were oppressing the poor Christians. Okay, now he turns to these Christians who are suffering, right, and wants to encourage them. Okay, so, and he urges them to be patient as they wait for the coming of the Lord. Okay, according to the worldly perspective, The wealthy oppressors appeared to be winning. They were comfortable, right? And according to the standards of the world, they seem to have succeeded in getting everything their way, right? But according to James, for this rich people, as we read just now, the day of the Lord will be coming, okay? And it's also the day of the slaughter, okay? And he's warning these people that they should cry and weep and wail, in anticipation of the misery that will be facing when the day of the Lord, which is also the day of slaughter, come upon them, right? But to those who are trusting in Christ, to those who are Christians, however little money and status they had in this life, James offers the same fact as comfort. What is that? The day of the Lord is coming. The Lord's coming. Okay? So what he's saying is, be patient while you wait for the day of the Lord, which is coming. While we wait for him to keep his promise as he comes on the day of the Lord. And moving on a bit, you see here, James is saying here, waiting is hard, especially when you're suffering. So here he's using the analogy of a farmer for encouragement or to encourage them, okay? He's asking the readers to think of how hardworking farmers have to wait for the payoff of their efforts, okay? You see, a farmer does not give up when his crop does not come to harvest immediately, right? Okay, he keeps on working even when the crop cannot be seen at all. When he first planting the seedlings and the seedings and all the whatever, right? It cannot germinate immediately. He had to wait. So even so, Christians must work hard and exercise patient endurance, even when the harvest day seems far away. Okay. But thank God, all the struggle and strain through all the stages of the growing season eventually will lead to a glorious harvest in time, in due time. Okay. So James is saying, be patient like the farmer. Harvest will come. Now, James uses the farmer because farmers, okay, let me ask you a question. How would you describe a farmer? How will you describe a farmer? A patient man, right? A farmer is a patient man. Okay. Can you be a farmer if you are impatient? Okay. If you want result immediately, you can't, right? So a farmer has to be patient. Okay. And likewise, a Christian has to be patient like a farmer as they wait. The farmer shows patience in his work. The Christian must also show patience as a virtue, right? And in verse 8 itself, it says here, the coming of the Lord is near, right? So he is telling the Christians here to be patient and stand firm. That means to establish their hearts by standing firm, okay? His instruction here is not to waver when they are so close to receiving God's promise. The Lord's coming is near. You see, we cannot control the timing of the day of the Lord, right? We never know when is the day of the Lord coming. However, James is telling them that we can control how we respond to the waiting. We can either wait patiently or we can get very upset and agitated and impatient about it, okay? So the reality of God's promise, his pledge to rescue us and make things right, gives us the ability to stand strong, even when our circumstances have not yet changed, okay? So do not worry, do not fret, but be patient, and wait upon God to claim his promise, which is yet to come sometimes, all right? So we have to be patient. That's why in Isaiah 40:31, say, they that wait upon the Lord. So you have to come and wait upon the Lord. Then his promise will come, right? Of course, that verse says that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. And it's true also. When we wait upon the Lord patiently, we will receive the strength from him, okay? That we can mount up with wings as eagles and run without being weary and walk without fainting. Amen? And going on, verse 9 and 10, okay? It says here, don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters. It's addressing the Christians again, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. So he's asking the readers to look at the prophets as an example of patience. And then this is where we come to the second exhortation in the book of James, verse 7 to 20. The second exhortation is avoid grumbling, verse 9. Avoid grumbling. I want to ask a question here, right? Why avoid grumbling? Okay. It says here, avoid grumbling. Why would we want to avoid grumbling? And why is it so harsh, Why will grumbling be judged or condemned? Give some thought here and see what you're thinking about it. Why is James so harsh on this sin of grumbling? Anyone got an idea here? Brother Franco, any thoughts here? Why do you think James is hitting so hard on grumbling? What is so wrong with grumbling? What is so seriously wrong with grumbling?
Muted now. Cannot hear.
Yeah, I think it will lead to grumbling will lead to dispute, and it just I think angerness also comes in after that.
Yes.
Can I answer?
Yes.
I think grumbling is a sin because if we trust God, right, we will not complain or grumbling. But if we grumbling means that we don't trust God and we don't believe in His power and control upon the situation. That's why we're grumbling.
How come you saw my notes, is it? And then see.
I don't know.
No, I just kidding. You got a very good answer there. Anybody else before we move on? Any thoughts?
Okay. I think grumbling is also the opposite of loving. You see, God's golden rule is for us to love one another.
Yes.
Because God is love.
Amen.
So when you grumble means that you don't have love in you.
No love.
Instead, you find, you want to find cause to finding fault with the other person. That's why you grumble.
Okay.
So grumbling is always very negative because you are fault finding.
Yes.
And you become discontent, and that is the antithesis of love.
All right. Yes, very good. I will answer your question, or I will address this question as we go along, okay? But let me just try to define grumbling. What is grumbling? Grumbling means complain about something in a bad-tempered way. Like Brother Franco said, in an angry way, you express that. Okay, so this is actually a stern warning to one of the besetting sins of the church, even in our age today. All right, grumbling is a very prominent thing going on. All right, even among believers. You see, many believers seem to relish in grumbling against each other. See, the word is grumbling against one another, all right? Okay. So God's word says here very clearly that this action will bring judgment upon the person doing grumbling, all right? So James is warning the Christian not to grumble against each other, which shows a lack of trust in God, like Nancy say, okay? And you see, God doesn't like grumbling, okay? It is a sign of ungratefulness against God. That's why I say Nancy saw my notes already. Okay, exactly like that. All right. Uh, you remember the Israelite when they were going through the wilderness? What is the one thing they do that God was very upset with them? They were murmuring and complaining and grumbling. Right? What were they murmuring about? What were they complaining about? You remember? They say,
No way.
every day, same old food, manna. Manna from heaven. Every day eat, you know. They are complaining about the food, even the water. They are not satisfied, isn't it? So what does this show? Somebody say, grumbling is an act of ungratefulness. Okay. They don't know how to appreciate what God has done for them. It's a miracle, but they don't see that, you know. So they keep complaining. And what happened to them? God is against grumbling. So God let them die in the wilderness. Okay. So, and God also doesn't like grumbling against fellow Christians. Okay. If you are grumbling against one another, you are actually dishonoring God. Okay. And the judge is standing there. Remember, I talked about the tongue in chapter 3, right? And we list down the 3 categories of the sin of the tongue, and we touched on that last week, the last chapter 4 also. Okay, the categories of sin of the tongue. The first one is what? Slander. Remember? Okay, slander is gossiping, malign, complaining also, and judging others. The second one is falsehood, where you tell lies and misrepresentation, blah blah blah. Okay, and the third one, interestingly, okay, the third one is whining and complaining, you know, right? And the definition here is exactly what we're talking about. It covers complaining when you are blessed by God and are the beneficiary of His grace, and yet you still complain. All right? So this is a sin, and God is very against it, right? So actually, when you complain about people, you are having a critical spirit and a judgmental spirit, okay? Which means you think lowly of that person, okay? That's why in James chapter 4, verse 12, remember, we talk about that. There is only one lawgiver and judge, and the one who is able to save and destroy. But you, who are you to judge your neighbor? Okay? So when you complain, you are actually judging, okay? So let's not risk his judgment by us complaining about each other, all right? So we have to be very careful, okay? So I also like to do another reality check. Are we in the habit of grumbling or complaining? Hello, everybody. Time of confession now, right? Are we in the habit of grumbling or complaining? Think about it. I'm asking you to think about yourself. Don't think about another person. Yourself. Are you a grumbler? Okay?
Brother
Or a
Peter,
complainer?
got a question. Is there such thing as complaining in a healthy way,
Yes.
like venting?
Okay. How do you describe complaining in a healthy way? How do you complain in a healthy way, Brother Brian?
I don't know. Sometimes, like when you just want to, I don't know, release, probably get the air out lah. But I don't know whether that's is still considered a sin of complaining, or how do you?
Can you complain, let out and complain in a nice way? If you can, then it's all right. But usually people complain in a very angry tone, right? That complaining is actually confronting. Huh? What anybody else want to answer Brian's question? Can we complain in a nice way?
But then David, how does he talk to God? He also, how do you say, complain?
Yeah.
But it's lament also, right? I mean,
Yes,
he
yes,
is expressing problems.
Yeah.
I have enemies, my brother whom I shared a meal with, he betrayed me. How could he do that sort of thing? So can-ish, right?
Yes.
Teacher.
Okay. But I think, okay.
Job is also a good example, yeah, of
Who?
Job seems to be a
Job.
good example of complaining,
Yeah.
about his situation, or maybe he's more wondering what's happening.
Yeah. That's why we have to define what is complaining or grumbling, all right? It's a sense of not appreciating or not thankfulness, no thankfulness or gratitude or gratefulness, you know? So you come very negatively against one another. So this one is focused on each other, right? You complain about another person, okay? So do we do that? In this PBC church, are there among us people who always complain about one another, right? Are you the one who complain about one another, right? So the question is, do you complain against another, a brother or sister? Do you have the habit? Sometimes it becomes too natural. You don't even notice it. You keep complaining about people, you know, because oh, that person like that, how can she do like that? You know, all kind of complaining about that person, right? Maybe here I can just address a little bit about Brian's question. You see, if you confront or you complain a person in a nice way to the person, I think it's acceptable. All right. But you go behind the person and complain about him. That is what is not right, I think. Huh? If I can put it this way. I always tell my staff, I know that some of them complain about me, you know. So I told them, you have any complaint about me, you come to me and talk to me and complain to me. I don't mind. I will hear you. But you complain to other people about me, I can't do anything. And you're only stirring up negativity, you know, among the staff, and that's no good. You see? So you want to complain about me, come and talk to me. I can handle it. You know, we can discuss about it. But if I hear you talking about bad about me and complaining about me, then that's not right. That's not good. Okay. So same thing. When we talk about a brother and a sister behind his back or her back, that is not right. Okay. So let's do a reality check here. Are you sometimes maybe in a habit of doing that, or you do not realize? I think hopefully for now we are made aware that this is something God does not like, and we can be judged. You know, or do you complain about the leadership of PBC? Anyone here? Okay, or this leader like that person like that, talk like that, don't talk like that, you know. So you have, I don't know whether I make the right statement here. I think there are people who complain about the leadership. I've heard some myself, you know. So I think it's not healthy. Okay, you have a problem about somebody who is in leadership, you go and talk to him, right? You don't complain behind his back. You all agree? Huh? All right. More sensitive question is, do you complain about pastor? Okay. All right. So I think we have to check ourselves, because sometimes unconsciously, we do it. We cannot. I don't say that unknowingly. We know, but we just not aware that it's such a serious crime or such a serious sin. Okay. Okay, so if you don't like certain thing about maybe about pastor, I mean, go and talk to him. Then like what I say, you come and talk to me, I can do something. You got to talk to pastor, then he can do something. I'm not talking only about Pastor Lim. There are other pastors, or maybe your favorite pastor like me. So you can come and talk to me. Okay, so I think this is very important. All right, check ourselves. Are we in a habit of grumbling and complaining, and in the wrong way? Okay. So going on a little bit, I will stop here. I think I don't have time to go on. All right, I will stop here. All right, and continue the 10 verse 10 and verse 12 next week, plus the rest of the sessions. Okay, so I think the two important questions we got to ask ourselves here. Let's move on to the last. Okay, 2 items to pray. Okay, patience. We ask ourselves, do we have patience? Do we need patience? Do we come before God and say, God, give me patience and I want it now? All right, okay. Or we come before God humbly and say, Lord, help me develop this virtue, this fruit of the Spirit of patience. And Lord, help me as I examine myself. Do I have a complaining spirit? Of course, sometimes we see things not happening the way we think it ought to. Then we must do it the right way. Go to the elder, go to the leader, go to the pastor, whatever. Talk nicely, all right? Or go to a brother or a sister. Talk nicely and express your thoughts, and and hopefully the Lord will work, and things will work out well after that. Okay, so maybe I'd like to suggest we spend about 2 minutes or so just to pray for ourselves. I think most of us are affected in one way or another. Just 1 or 2 minutes to pray for ourselves, a time of confession before God, examine ourselves, and let the Spirit of God speak to us. Then I pass back to Brian. Thanks.